Hey guys, so we just got a Junkrat rework, and I'm going to be going through it. He does get a new, pretty cool looking skin. It's like one of those I don't know, 60s, 50s, 60s robber style mafia type thing. Bonnie and Clyde, I guess, is the best way. That's probably way earlier than 50s and 60s. Don't quote me. I'm not a history person. I've never claimed to be a history person. I do like psychology and philosophy. Never ask me history questions. So their problem, I believe, with Junkrat, I actually liked Junkrat. I liked he had a little bit of burst, a little bit of sustain, just was pretty good all around. But he did have a low win rate, and in competitive scene, he was really only used for very specific things, stalling objectives, damage over time. He scales really well, stuff like that. But they're giving him a rework. I think they want to make him a little bit more wider talent range, because there was only one build that was ever used, one build done, one and done. Never, there was no situational talents. It was the same exact build. It was the same exact build every single time. It was just Q all the way down. So let me move my camera over so that we can see these talents, and we'll get into it. So to start off, the first thing that they did is they reduced his auto attack damage and his Q damage. So both of those have been reduced. His auto attack damage does 240 per hit, still AoE. If you hit things that are close to other things, you will be doing splash damage, from my understanding. Let me double check that. Still AoE. His Q, still AoE, pretty straightforward. You can still do the trick as well. Auto Q to fire off both of your things very quickly, so you're not interrupting any cast times by firing both of those. His W still works exactly the same. His E still works exactly the same. Now that we've got that cleared up, let's talk about it. Same thing with his passive. They've moved around some talents. Tricky Shuffles. While Frag Launcher has no charges left, he gains 10% movement speed, and his basic attacks deal more damage. So now you want to try to use up all of your Qs and immediately start auto attacking to increase your auto attack damage. This is going to increase your sustained damage. Extra wound timers. This means that the final grenade launched by Frag Launcher deals 60% bonus damage, and Frag Launcher's grenades last an additional 2 seconds before detonating. So let's throw this out and see if there's any different visual on the last grenade. There is not a different visual on the last grenade, so no one will know which one that they are allowed to hit and which one they aren't allowed to hit. And they can all sit out on the map. So that's actually a pretty cool talent right there. Let's take a peek at this last one though. Hitting an enemy with a concussion mine or steel trap causes Junkrat to do 25% more damage with basic attacks and basic abilities for 6 seconds. So you hit someone with a W, you push them or you pull them into your team, knock them into your team, and now you do 25% more damage with basic attacks and basic abilities. That's not knock them into your team, drop a rip tire, and burst them for all their health. So basic abilities, basic attacks. So if you want sustained damage, Tricky Shuffles seems like it's going to be really solid for sustained damage, or if you're going to get a lot of auto attacks. If you don't think you're going to get auto attacks, blow them up might be okay, or extra wound timers for that off chance of doing more burst damage to people who are CC'd, and you can zone out an area with it by throwing all of these out like this, and now it zones out this area they can't walk through, or else they're going to take a lot of damage. Overall, pretty cool. I like that those level 1 diversity. I think right off the bat, I don't see anyone that's much better than the rest of them. Taste for explosions. Hitting an enemy hero with Frag Launcher increases its damage by 0.2 up to 40%. So now it's going to cap out, and it is not a flat damage, it is a percentage damage, which means that while it caps out, it also scales. So that's kind of the cool part. You can cap it out earlier, and it scales a lot longer. So 10 puts us at 20%, 20 puts us at... Wait, is it actually that fast? Am I doing my math wrong here? $1.25. Let's hold on. Let's toggle cooldowns. So 10 is 0.2. So it is still the same. It's 200 still, but it does scale. So it's no longer going to be like a huge burst if you get it done quickly, but over the long run, it's going to be worth way more. Boom Pow. Hitting an enemy hero with Concussion Mine reduces its cooldown by 8 seconds. This is an enemy hero, so you can reduce the cooldown, knock them into your team, and still use it for an escape. Chattering Teeth. Your steel traps now slowly chase the nearby enemy heroes. Actually, I can even figure out the... how much does my Q damage do right now? 424. Why was that a burst? Oh, because of toggle cooldowns. Hold on. Why is that still doing the crit damage? Is it just because of this? It's showing crit? Weird. I won't be able to do the math then because I need to find out what the base Q damage. Oh, I can read it here. Does 250 deals 50% less to. Oh, it deals less damage to structures. I probably always did that. I just didn't know. 259 damage to nearby enemies. So at 200 stacks, you would have gotten an extra 100 damage because it's 0.5 for each one for the old one. Let me pull up Junkrat talents really quick. Probably should have looked up all this stuff ahead of time and run through this once before, but I did want to get this video out to you guys ASAP. So the old talent was 100 damage. So you're only going to be getting 40% more damage at level 20 is going to be 40. Sorry, it's 1.4 times 259, right? Is 259? Yeah, 259. Is you get an extra 101 damage. So yeah, this is actually better in the long run, but it's worse in the early run. That's fair. Then we get Chattering Teeth. Level 7, we have Concussion Mine slows. We have Big As, which is the Steel Trap, increases the radius and damage, and enemy heroes who have been hit have their armor reduced by 10 for 3 seconds. So you can actually burst people a little bit better when they get hit by it. We have Sticky Wicket, which means that they are silenced for 2.5 seconds. So it doesn't slow anymore, it silences. So if they get hit by a trap, they're silenced. And Dirty Trickster increases the explosion radius of total mayhem by 20%, which is that. When Junkrat is stunned, rooted, damaged, and gets below 50%, he uses total mayhem, dropping 5 grenades at his feet that explode. This effect has a 12-second cooldown. So when you are stunned, rooted, or damaged by an enemy while below 50% health, you total mayhem, and then if you die, you total mayhem again. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't think you should be in the situation where you need that. But new Sticky Wicket seems kind of insane. To be able to silence people for 2.5 seconds, and this lasts for 2 seconds, that's a Stukov root on one person from just a trap on a single ability. That seems incredible. That seems incredibly annoying. Good lord. Riptire, I believe it's still the same. You get a motorized bomb with health. You can kill it. Deals damage to nearby enemies. Reduced to... Oh, it doesn't seem like it's as much of a reduction anymore. 1,700 while it's in the middle and 1,400 while it's on the edge. I think it used to be burstier in the middle than that. But either way, that's fine. Overall, really great ability. Rocket Ride, if they changed that... You land, dealing damage. 5 seconds after landing, you reappear at the Hall of Storms with 1,500. Yeah, it's still the same. Riptire for sure. Bombs Away. Increase Junkrat's basic attack range by 1. Frag launcher grenades fired within 0.5 seconds of using a basic attack deal more damage. Okay, so they're actually encouraging the mechanic that most people should have learned anyways. So if you're good at it, they're encouraging it. Ripper Air knocks further back, reduces the cooldown if only Junkrats hit. So if only Junkrats hit on this one, and if only enemies are hit on that one, then it's going to reduce the cooldown. Gotta Trap them all, reduces Steel Trap's cooldown, there we go, by 5 seconds, and increases the maximum number of... So it's no longer a quest, but you can only have 2 traps out. But 2 traps that silence? Like, what? Good lord. This thing still is throwing me off. Like, there has to be something... I don't know. Am I reading this wrong? Who are hit by Steel Trap are silenced for 2.5 seconds. I don't even know. Anyways, so got him, trap them all. So now you can either have more sustained damage. So remember that we can still increase our damage by 15% of auto attacks. And then while we're waiting for auto attacks and triggering that, we get an extra 25% damage on our Q. And then we can also have bonus damage because remember the last one... Oh, never mind. We don't get that. We would get this. Unless we wanted to go hybrid with Steel Trap's Chase and then Steel Trap's Silence. But I don't know if we want steel traps chasing people, because then it allows people to move them out of a place that might not be good. And it might like accidentally hit like minions. They could kite it into a minion. I'd rather just put this in areas that they have to walk through. Anyways, so that's interesting. And then at level 16 we have Burst Fire, lowers the cooldown, and it loses 1 maximum charge. So you fire off 3, you get a lower cooldown. This talent was never really a good one because you can't control where they go. So they all kind of fire off and either all hit something or all miss something, and it's just not really that worth it. Endless Nades was always the go-to with Spread Volley in certain situations. Against like heavy backline, for example, you'd go Spread Volley to just cover the field with bombs. And but yeah, Endless Nades hitting enemies reduces the cooldown. Amazing against heavy frontline. Again, amazing against most teams, to be honest. Spread Volley, amazing against heavy backline, or if you just really need to burst something. You hit 16, you think you're going to do a core rush, Spread Volley, burst down the core, and you're done. They're still exactly the same. And Spread Volley always just looks very cool. Like, visually. It's just insane. Anyways, extra oomph, increased Riptire's knockback, reduces its cooldown. Puckish Scamp, you also gain the ability Riptire. Each time he uses Heroic, it swaps to the alternate ability. Each Heroic has its own separate cooldown? What? That's cool. That's really cool. I hate waiting. Junkrat always rides his Rocket Ride mount, which grants 150 movement speed, but his mount cooldown is increased to 12 seconds? What? Good lord. That is so cool. That is insane. And then your mount is just a 12-second cooldown, but you could still get around the battlefield with this. It's like you have a global available whenever you want it. Cannonball, that's always good. Increases the radius of grenades from basic attacks and frag launcher. Puckish that seems so cool. I mean, it's still annoying that you're going to lose your one ult, though. I have a feeling it's still going to be extra oomph cannonballs, or maybe I hate waiting, depending on how big the map is and if you need that global. Normally, level 20 globals are not that valuable. Like, if you look at Ariels, for example, you should always be with your team. It's not that valuable. It's not great. So this probably won't be used in competitive. Cannonballs is probably still going to be the go-to in competitive. I would imagine Puckish is going to be really good for Storm League. You just need to make sure that you're starting on Riptire, because if you start on Riptire, you use Riptire at the start of a fight, and then you throw out all of your abilities, do some damage, and then you use your other one to halfway through a fight, then you come back into the fight full health, full mana. But 2 ults during a fight seems really good. I like that. I think that's really cool. So let's talk about the possibility for builds on new Junkrat. I think that for sure there's going to be a sustained damage build, which is going to be the gain movement speed and bonus auto attack damage while you're waiting. Taste for explosions, again, for that sustained damage. Then at this level, nothing really adds to the sustained damage. You can increase the traps and make it to where they lose armor, but I feel like the silence is going to be so good in the competitive scene. We don't really need anything else other than that. I would just prep everything. So it's one of these two for sure. I think in a burst build, we definitely need to remove armor, sustain. We need to silence people. Riptire allows a sustain build to have burst, and you don't want to be leaving the fight, so we're going to be going Riptire. Oh, that's the downside of this talent, is you have to pick the other ult. I don't know. Level 13, by far, attack range and that bonus. And then we're going to be picking up Endless Nades for sustained damage, followed by Cannonball. And the way that this build is going to work is essentially you're going to get at max auto attack range, and as the auto attack's firing off, we're going to fire off a second one. And you can see that DPS is very, very high. And with the cooldown reduction, it's going to be very easy to fire off that second one half a second after that fire. We're sitting at like 500 DPS on a hero that does AoE damage. That's really, really good for sustained damage. I think that's really solid, not to mention that their quest isn't done. Let's say that we're level 20. I doubt you're going to complete your quest, but let's say that you did complete your quest. I mean, that's a good chunk of damage, honestly. You're critting with your auto attacks in between these. You have that extra range with your auto attacks. I mean, 600 DPS, and then right as you need a burst, boom, fire in the hole, boom, 1600 damage. Very straightforward, very easy. Now, if we wanted to go more of a bursty build, I would imagine we would probably be going something along the lines of extra wound timers. See, that's actually tricky. So steel trap, no, you'd want to do probably still extra wound, I'd imagine. I don't know. So that's 60% more. That requires you to hit something. Yeah, burst, we're going to go blow them up. And then we're going to probably go boom pow so we can get the cooldown low whenever we're hitting enemies. Because burst is all going to be about disruption, picking a target, and blowing them up. Increase damage, as well as make it to where they have their armor reduced. Riptire, followed by maybe Rip Rare, just to keep the cooldown of your W really low in case you need to use it for yourself. Spread Volley, and then that's a tricky part, honestly. For Burst, maybe Extra Oomph. I'm not sure. So essentially, this build is probably not going to be that standard, but the goal here is to try to disrupt the enemies as much as possible with your W, and then that off chance that you can get like maybe a W into a trap, where you drop down this, and then you use your ult, and boom. And we instantly did 5,000 damage. So it's like, if you could do something like that, for example, and you can instantly do 5,000 damage to someone, you're going to blow them up, and you're disrupting their team all the time with Ws. And then if you ever needed to get around, you could always go the I hate waiting, but I don't think you really need to. So that's probably the two builds that I'm seeing initially. There is the possibility of going like the dream scenario and just going like a full trap build like we've done before. And it'll be easier because there's no quest. We could go Rocket Ride just for fun. Steel Trap count. And again, I mean, you're not going to be going heavy nades, so maybe like Spread Volley. And then you could try something weird like this, where you're just trying to like zone out everything with your traps. And when you zone out everything... So now you're like zoning out everything with your traps. You've got your mines or your bombs, you've got your mines. It's just kind of a little bit of like full utility build. I still don't think I would go the armor reduction. I would probably go the silence, because if you could silence someone and then just ult them, like if you see someone running in, you could almost just immediately ult, go in on it, and then like bomb down on someone, and then you'll get your rocket ride back to lane, right? Then you get your rocket ride back to lane. And then you get back in here. You pop this, right? And then you've got your fire in the hole. I don't know. I'm not sure about that build. I think the sustain build is still going to be used a lot in the competitive. And then they're just going to type or put in that sticky wicket, because that thing seems insane. But otherwise, yeah, that's the new Junkrat. Let me know what you guys think about new Junkrat in the comments below. What build is sticking out to you? Are there certain talents that are sticking out to you? Yeah, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be seeing this next Tuesday and Wednesday, North America, Europe, all that. But it should be on the PTR. It is on the PTR right now. I'm on the PTR right now. So thank you guys for watching. Whitemane also got reworked, so feel free to check out that video. Hopefully I'm bringing them both out at the same time. So just watch out for the Whitemane and the Junkrat rework videos. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to check out my other stuff.